Business, building relationships, and building Waterloo Region. 570 News presents Business to Business, powered by Save on Energy. Here's your host, Glenn Pelletier.
And welcome to Business on 570 News, powered by Save on Energy. And we're delighted to have you with us for another show. And joining us, as they do each and every Sunday at this time, Ian McLean. He is the president of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce, and his partner...
in crime.
Well, I better be his broadcast partner. His broadcast partner.
Oh, that's neat. That's cool.
Greg DeRocher, president of the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce. We're also joined in studio by Kitchener-Conestoga MPP Michael Harris, here to talk at length about Bill 73, the Fair and Open Tendering Act. And I know, Ian, you've been hinting at the significance of this over the last couple of shows. This is a really important proposed legislation.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and Greg and I both, as past or former municipal elected officials, sort of understand the importance of this. And we'll get into the details and let Michael sort of explain the specific things that happen. But ultimately, the issue that's come up with the region of Waterloo is that there'll be a lot less choice for municipalities and who they can contract with for municipal projects, construction projects, which will mean less value and less projects for the same amount of dollars. And this is an issue that it certainly affects the region, and we'll get into the details why. But it's a province-wide issue as well.
Who's behind this? Not the bill. We know it's Mr. Harris's proposed bill, but who's behind this?
Well, this is the Carpenters Union have signed, and we'll get into the details because it is pretty complicated and need to walk through it. But the Carpenters Union are starting to certify, which would mean that only companies that have a relationship with the Carpenters Union can bid on regional projects, and that means a lot less choice.
And the beauty of it is Michael Harris is going to put this in plain language, unlike my colleague Ian McLean.
Oh, come on.
So that everybody can understand it.
All right,
okay. We don't want to go down that road.
We're going to chat with Michael at length. He's in studio with us. Okay. Last week we mentioned that we are very proud to have on board and we're excited to have our brand new main sponsor, Save on Energy. And from time to time, and we'll be talking, actually, each and every show, we'll be promoting the importance and significance to business and private individuals of saving on energy. It's a great program offered by your local utilities. The
fantastic group of
all
companies.
Three hydro companies are going to be represented on the show. Yep. But Save on Energy is what they all have in common.
And I think what comes with this sponsorship too, Glenn, and that Ian and I are excited about, is it really gives us an opportunity to engage with them, the three individual companies who are members of our Chamber of Commerce that are going to bring business advice throughout the year as well. So we're going to be able to draw on their expertise from a business perspective, and we're kind of excited about.
Well, and these are programs that the province mandates that the utilities provide, and it's really to find ways of reducing your energy consumption. And for most businesses or consumers, the less you use, the less you're paying, obviously. So that's important.
And we have some brilliant people.
Yeah. And you know what? Speaking of plain and easy to understand, they've got some great programs that the Save on Energy folks will be able to explain to our business listeners.
That Ian can't, of course.
Oh, come on.
Okay.
We're having a windbag session here between you and I.
Well, as we've been mentioning, we are very proud to be sponsored by and powered by Save on Energy, offered by your local electric utilities. Joining us now from Cambridge and North Dumfries Hydro, where she is supervisor of energy efficiency. Here to talk more about Save on Energy is Sarah Colvin. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hi, Glenn. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you along, and you're with Greg and Ian.
Sarah, it's Greg, and we're certainly happy from the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce, of course, to have Save on Energy, but more particularly, certainly Cambridge and North Dumfries Hydro, and Sarah Colvin involved with our radio show that Ian and I put on every week, and what maybe a lot of listeners don't know, and certainly maybe not even Glenn or Ian know, but you were named, I guess, the one to watch in your industry across Canada a couple of years. So I just wanted to say congratulations, and it's great to have you with us.
Thank you.
Well, we're here today, and we talked a little bit with Jeff Quint last week about the symposium that the Save on Energy of the three local utilities put on. Tell us a bit more about that and how people can register and why it would be important for them to consider coming to this great event.
Fantastic. this is actually the biggest event that we offer during our event season. So this is the fourth time we've been running the symposium. And basically what we do is it's a full day at Binghamton's in Marshall Hall. We bring in 60 exhibitors, and we have a variety of workshops that go on throughout the day so folks can find out about LED lighting, compressed air systems, HVAC equipment, and what improvements have been made maybe in the past year or so with the technology, is how it's advanced and how it can help a business manage their energy costs better.
And what's your target audience really for this? Is it the small and medium-sized businesses?
It actually works for every business. I think that's the benefit of being an electric utility, is we have a relationship with just about every customer out there in some capacity. So there's opportunities for small businesses to find out about advancements in LED lighting, for example, so replacing pot lights in a retail location or a restaurant, all the way up to large, pumps, motors, chillers when you get into a large industrial type customer. So there really is an offering for everybody at the symposium.
Well, before we get too far, because I think there's some great parts to this and what Jeff was mentioning last week, but how do people register? Is there a cost to it? How much time should people allow? And where are you holding it this year? So the pertinent details and how people get connected and get registered.
Sure. So the symposium is coming up on Thursday, September 26th. The doors open at 9 o'clock and will run till about 4. We have the day designed that folks can stop in when it's convenient for them, but typically what we find is as soon as you arrive, you end up spending the rest of the day there. So people will want to keep their calendars open. For businesses, there is no charge to attend. We do ask that you register in advance so we can make sure that we have the space set up for the number of people. You can register online by visiting saveonenergywr.ca. And we will have lots of information for people who arrive. We'll have bags, trade show literature, same kind of thing that you would get when you arrive anywhere, so you can find out about the programs that we offer and how it tailors in with the exhibitors that are on site.
Sarah, if there's a small business owner listening right now and he's kind of thinking, or he or she's thinking, you know what, I want to save a few bucks on my energy cost. I do believe in energy conservation because I know, in a larger sense, it's good for the environment. But they're sitting on the fence. What would you say to that person?
I think when you're talking to a business customer, the most important thing to say is that energy is a great place to make a small investment to get a very quick payback. There's lots of opportunities, whether it's a really small change or really drastic change that you can make that really does have an impact. And so coming up to the symposium gives you the chance to find out what those opportunities are. Connect with your local utilities. Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge will all be in the room. We'll have lots of representatives. Come chat with one of us, and we can give you some ideas, provide you with case studies, and find out what other people in the region have done.
Well, I think that's great, and I think as Jeff had mentioned over last week's show, is this is a free consultation, so people can come. There's no harm, and there's no investment other than your time to find out about these programs. So, just remind us one more time the best way to register. Is it to go to the Save on Energy website?
That's right. So you want to go to saveonenergywr.ca. You can click on Symposium and register from there.
That's great. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll be chatting to you next week about more details about this great event, and we'll look forward to talking to you over the coming year.
Wonderful.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sarah. Sarah Colvin has been our guest. She's with Cambridge and North Dumfries Hydro, Supervisor of Energy Efficiency, talking more about the importance of the Save On Energy program. And we are delighted to be powered by Save On Energy on 570 News. And guys, it to me personally, I'm the kind of guy at work and at home that's always turning off lights and trying to conserve energy wherever I can. I get a real personal satisfaction just out of doing that small bit to take a little bit of heat off the grid and be environmentally conscious. It's really, for me, it's not about cost saving as much as it is about just doing my bit for the environment in my own small way. But for business owners, the savings can be quite substantial.
Oh, and that was what Jeff had told us last week, I think, and in conversations, is the payback for these programs is very short, and it improves their bottom line right away. You make these investments. There's grant programs. It's free consultation. They actually do they organize and help you get accredited contractors to do the work. But the payback's right away. We're not talking 5 or 10 years. He's saying in a lot of cases it's 18 months and it's fully paid back, which means that's going right to a small business, medium-sized business bottom line real soon. So,
and guys, describe the connection or relationship between the chambers and the hydro companies.
The three hydro companies have come together and they've created this Save on Energy for Waterloo Region kind of consortium together, and they partner together on programs that are put out by the OPA and other power authorities. They give them the opportunity to really encourage business owners and people in the community, residents in the community, to adopt energy-saving initiatives. And, I went through that in a personal way and with a cottage that I did, and just taking some advice from Cambridge and North Dumfries Hydro while I was reinstalling some equipment into the cottage, and my hydro bill actually was cut in half. And I realized that instantaneously, and it's just you know what, it just makes good sense. We used to run a program called Going Green for Profit. The real fact is you invest in this, and it's going to be returned to you in pocket money, because you're not going to be expending it on energy costs, and you're going to get the same light, the same value. Everything's still going to work exactly the same way. It's just that you're going to be paying less, and it just makes sense to do.
Yeah, well, it's a twofer, right? Yeah, as you say, I mean, we all do that, turning off lights and saying that's just the right thing to do. But there's money to be saved as well, and for every small and medium-sized business, that's and larger businesses too. But certainly for our members, a lot of the small and medium-sized business, we want to get that message out, and I guess that's why Save on Energy has decided that, and the local utilities have always been good business partners with us. But I think they've seen that our capacity with 18 and 1900 business owners across the Waterloo region is we're a great vehicle to kind of get at those small and medium sized business and share the news about why this is an important program both for energy or environment, energy conservation, as well as saving money. For business.
Yeah, it just makes sense. Good business sense.
You are listening to Business on 570 News, powered by Save on Energy. We'll be back with more right after this.
We'll be right back with more Business to Business, powered by Save on Energy. Call in with your questions at star 570, 570-2545 or 1-800-570-5715. What you know. It's who you know. Connecting community through business. This is Business to Business on 570 News. Powered by Allstream. All local, all relevant. Allstream.com. Here's your host, Glenn Pelletier.
And welcome back to Business on 570 News. Powered by Save on Energy. Let's get right into it. Kitchener-Conestoga MPP Michael Harris has a lot to say about fair and open tendering when it comes to being able to bid for contracts that municipalities are looking for bidders on, infrastructure projects and the like. He has tabled a bill, or is about to table a bill, Michael?
Tabled a bill already.
He's tabled the bill, Bill 73, the Fair and Open Tendering Act, and I'll tell you, this thing has resonated with a lot of people. Ian McLean and Greg DeRocher have been talking about this for some time over the past couple of shows. And I know, Ian, you're a big proponent of getting attention for this bill. And Mr. Harris has received a number of endorsements from people right across the province for this proposed bill.
Well, and this is a really important issue, not only for, as I said, for the region of Waterloo, but right across the province. And that's why I think both Cambridge Chamber and ourselves have really kind of been watching this issue develop, and we're in discussions actually on Monday with the Ontario Chamber of Commerce president and the research staff about how the OCC can play a role. But I think maybe the way to start is, Michael, if we give it to you and say, explain the bill was your first reading was tabled in the legislature, first reading in the spring session, so it's coming back, so it's heating up. So why don't you walk us through sort of what the issue is, why you developed the bill you did, and where you see the right answer being, because it's really important, and it will be for our business members to make sure this gets addressed by this legislature.
Well, thanks, guys, for having me this morning, Greg and Ian, Glenn, because I do believe this is one of the most important issues, not only for our own municipality, our region of Waterloo here, but right across the province, including your businesses that you represent. Bit of a technical, issue to deal with, so I'll walk you through it. I think it's first important to note that we all know municipalities and school boards, they're not construction companies. However, a loophole in Ontario's labor laws allows municipalities and school boards to be certified under collective bargaining rules that were meant for construction companies. Therefore, Ontario's labor laws need to be amended to make clear that municipalities and school boards are, in fact, not construction companies. And we all know that...
That's just common sense.
Yeah, well, you'd think...
In fact, it scares me because they shouldn't be construction companies.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. Because why? They're not, trying to make a profit like private construction companies are. They're providing quality roads, bridges, buildings for our residents here in our community, schools, etc. However, Ontario's labor laws are silent on that point, and because of a lack of clarity, the Labor Board applies collective bargaining rules for construction companies to municipalities and school boards. So the problem is if a municipality or a school board is unionized under these rules, like we have recently been, or we're going through the board right now at the region of Waterloo, local officials are forced to contract out all work on large infrastructure projects to companies that are affiliated or organized by a specific union. And that means one union could hold a monopoly over all the work here in our region on bridges, wastewater treatment plants, other infrastructure projects.
So then meaning that a particular company who has that union affiliation, they could also hold the monopoly. So one particular company over every other company.
I'll give you a good example. In the region of Waterloo since 2009, or the end of 2009, our region has tendered out about $140 million worth of wastewater treatment plant work to date. $140 million. There were 27 qualified or eligible contractors to bid that work over the course of the last 3 years. If these rules now apply to that same work, 27 bidders. Do you want to guess how many bidders it drops to under the
15.
rule? 2.
What?
2. So it goes from 27 down to 2. And so we all know we don't need an economics degree to know what happens when you reduce 27 bidders down to 2. Prices go up.
But on that kind of project, you got cement work, you got electrical work, you got all of those other trades, and
you may have carpentry work too.
I mean, you have carpentry work, but that's probably it's certainly not the majority of but that one agreement with the carpenters union could mean that contractors that have all those skills, but they don't have that relationship with the carpenters union, are not eligible for a huge contract.
Yep, this labor practice is patently unfair, and it's really it's unacceptable in a democratic country. Really, as I had mentioned, it could exclude up to 70% of our qualified contractors in the bidding process. And I've always said, as I've toured the province this past summer, that I believe if you're a qualified contractor, you should be able to work on local projects in the community where you live and work. And you pay property taxes. And in this case, should this go through, like it has in other communities like Hamilton, Toronto, Sault Ste. Marie, Kitchener is also affected by this. There's a school board in Essex County. Regardless of whether you hold a union card or you don't at all, you will be ineligible to actually bid work on these local projects, and that's just not fair.
So follow this through, because I mean, there are those, and I've read some and seen some of the comments that this is a anti-union bill versus non-anti-union bill, and frankly, we have contractors, and Greg and I have talked about this offline, or we have construction companies that are both union shops and non-union shops.
Yep. Who are members of our chamber.
Members of our chamber. So this, just reassure us, I mean, and the listeners, and frankly, I want to make sure that this is not a union versus non-union, because that's not the issue. For us, it's about fairness for every one of our members that should have a fair shot as long as they meet the eligibility requirements. So, why should this not be seen as sort of union versus non-union? Like, what in the bill would reassure someone that it's not saying a non-union shop can't do it versus a union shop?
Well, Ian, it is exactly about fairness. That is entirely what this bill is. That's why it's called Fair and Open Tendering Act, and it would allow for contractors, regardless of one's affiliation, because it's not just a union or a non-union issue. In fact, it actually discriminates against members who hold a particular or another union card. In fact, the CLAC, which is a craft union, their members, roughly 1,200 folks who live and work in our communities, will be shut out of working on that public infrastructure. So, and they're members of a craft union. Members who are not affiliated with a particular union or who choose not to have a union card will be impacted by this because of simply the union that they've chose to belong to or not at all will be ineligible to even bid. And so, again, it goes back to fairness to ensure that if you're a qualified contractor,
union or non-union,
union or non-union, you should have that opportunity to bid and work on local infrastructure projects. Because at the end of the day, these projects are funded by taxpayers, and we want to ensure that we've got the best possible price at the highest quality work. And we know that if you allow, again, those qualified contractors to bid, taxpayers will be served well. It's also about sustainability to ensure that local infrastructure tax dollars are spread as far as we can. We know that we've got a significant infrastructure deficit across Ontario, including our own region. And when you limit competition, prices will go up.
Oh, it'll just compound the problem.
I don't think anyone can deny that fact.
But Michael, in reality, I guess maybe sometimes I would get accused of thinking about certain things, in too common sense approach. But there can't be one person that is a legislator in this province that would disagree with this bill. There just can't be. Fairness has got to be the principle going into governing a province or a country or a municipality. So how could anyone actually oppose this?
Well, I agree with you. And in fact, the Premier just said this week she wants a fair Ontario, one that ensures a level playing field for all. This bill, Bill 73, ensures that. It's up for debate this Thursday. And we hope that members of the legislature will see this as a nonpartisan issue. In fact, I'm proud to have the support of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, a significant endorsement, a group that represents all municipalities say, listen, members of the legislature, please pass this bill. The City of Kitchener at a recent council meeting also endorsed the bill. I know it was approved in committee at the Region of Waterloo's council meeting. I'll be back at a general meeting coming up shortly. Many associations, our own editorial board of the KW Record. I know the chamber itself, a joint chamber letter was sent by Greg and Ian to my colleagues to say, hey, this is an issue of fairness, pass the bill on Thursday.
We're going to come back with more and offer you the opportunity to explore with us what, if this bill is passed, what it would mean for municipalities if Bill 73, the Fair and Opening Tendering Act, being tabled by Tory MPP Michael Harris, Kitchener-Conestoga MPP, is passed. How would it change the labor landscape? And I'm glad you made that point, Michael, that it's not anti-union. Ultimately, the lowest bidder, the one ultimately selected by a municipality, could very well be represented by a union.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to come back with more as Business to Business continues on 570 News, powered by Save On Energy.
Business to Business, powered by Save On Energy, a presentation of 570 News. Watch the live video webcast at 570news.com. We'll return with more Business to Business. What you know. It's who you know. Connecting community through business. This is Business to Business on 570 News, powered by Save On Energy.
Welcome back to Business on 570 News, powered by Save On Energy. I'm Glenn Pelletier, joined in studio as always by Ian McLean, President of the Greater KW Chamber of Commerce, and Greg DeRocher, Cambridge Chamber of Commerce President. We've been in discussion with Michael Harris, Kitchener-Conestoga Tory MPP, who has tabled a bill at Queen's Park, Bill 73, the Fair and Open Tendering Act. And gentlemen, let's continue our discussion with Mr. Harris.
Yeah, so Michael, before the break, and I think we will maybe get to sort of what it means if the bill is passed. But I think before we get there, the reality in a minority legislature is there's politics every day, all the time, every hour. So on the politics of this, so in order for the changes that you're recommending, we'll come to that in a minute, but let's assume for the minute that it still has to go from on Thursday to the legislature. It needs to be passed to go to committee. Are you open to changes? So as an example, and I'll give you a couple of scenarios, and I want you to sort of specifically address these. If the government takes a look at this when it's tabled and has a change of heart, or on Thursday morning says, you know what, we're going to make this government bill. Are you okay if the government takes this bill and says it's now a Liberal bill? You've introduced it. It's a private member's bill. But if they make this government policy, are the Conservatives going to support this? So that's one scenario, because ultimately, if you think this is going to solve the problem and make it fair and open, I would presume that that's something that you should be open to. Secondly, what if there are changes that get made saying, hey, look, the NDP obviously have a union base. We need to make this or this change. It's still going to be fair and open. Are you open to those kind of changes from the NDP or the Liberals to make sure something gets done? Because from our perspective, we're nonpartisan. We don't care who does it as long as
the job done.
Gets the job done.
Right.
And our members want to know how we're going to get it done. So talk about the changes, and then hopefully we can get to, in the best case scenario, that it actually does get done, and you can explain what the changes mean.
Sure. Well, you know what? We spent about 2 good months, constructing a piece of legislation that we feel solves the problem across the province. We worked with a variety of stakeholders to ensure that this wasn't a union or a non-union issue. We've got the support of actually a craft union that endorses the bill, which is important to me. We've ensured it's the fact that the bill is actual constitutional. We'll hear from a significant law expert this week to confirm the fact that it is constitutional. We've preserved workers' rights in this bill, and that's explicit to ensure that those employees who, if they choose to be represented by a certain union, including the carpenters locally, they have a right to do so. They just wouldn't be subject to the rules that apply to a private construction company. In fact, they would have a local relationship with their employer, the region of Waterloo, under my bill. So we've worked really hard to construct a bill that is not partisan by any means, and so we're going to give members of the legislature on Thursday an opportunity to debate the bill and get it into committee. This is an important crossroads on Thursday, and so you know what, we've got this bill ready to go. It'll be debated. We hope that it'll be passed on Thursday, because we need to have a conversation, and that is where all parties, NDP, Liberal, including our own, will allow to call for witnesses to come in and speak to the bill. And should there be changes that you have referred to, I'm open to that. I'm absolutely open to that. But we need to get it into committee in order to have those conversations. If it stops on Thursday, it's dead.
Michael, have any labor groups responded directly to you yet?
We've had a good opportunity to meet. In fact, I've been across Ontario the last few months, Niagara to Sault Ste. Marie, Windsor to Ottawa. We've held construction roundtables where every building trades representative was in the room. You know what? It's at times the conversation gets away from what the bill is actually doing and some of the other things that are ongoing at Queen's Park. But when we focus on the bill in terms of the issue of fairness, I've not heard a lot of arguments in somebody saying, I'm against fairness. And at the end of the day, that's what this bill is about. It's ensuring that if you're a qualified contractor in our community who lives, works, pay taxes here, that you should have that right to bid and work on local infrastructure if you win the job by being the best price at the best quality. And that's all I say. It's not a union non-union issue. It's an issue of fairness. And I hope and call on all members of the legislature on Thursday to vote with me to ensure fairness. And again, back to your question, let's have that conversation. If there's questions, concerns, if there's amendments, let's hear them at committee, but we've got to pass it first in order to have that conversation.
So if the government takes that bill on Thursday morning and shows up and says it's now Government Bill 73, not private members' bill, what would you do?
Well, yeah, hey, we'll see what happens. Stranger things have happened. It's a funny place there, I'll tell you some days. But, Bill 73 is on the docket for Thursday. This is the government's opportunity. They talk about working together. They talk about, having a conversation. This is going to be a great opportunity for the government, my colleagues on the opposition, to work together. I've proposed a piece of legislation that doesn't just affect our own region of Waterloo, but affects taxpayers, hundreds of municipalities across the province, thousands of contractors, and millions of taxpayers. So let's not put partisan politics in the road here. Let's have a conversation like we hear the Premier talking about a lot. Let's not be divisive like we've seen perhaps in the past in other legislature sittings. Let's pass the Bill 73, and if the government wants to adopt it as their own, Well, we'll wait and see what happens.
Well, let's hope that if someone stands up and speaks against fairness, that their voice isn't heard, because that's just absolutely ludicrous to even think that anyone would fight against fairness. But Michael, let's say the pot at the end of the rainbow is realized, and Bill 73 is unanimously adopted by the House on Thursday. What will this do for the citizens of this province and for the businesses of this province?
Well, listen, right now, and if the region certification goes through, they're before the board right now disputing it. But if they do, about 30% of Ontarians would be impacted by a labor monopoly. Toronto, Hamilton, the region of Waterloo, Kitchener, Sault Ste. Marie. That's a significant portion of our province's infrastructure in those communities. And those companies that reside in those communities, if this bill is passed, it would open up infrastructure, public infrastructure work to, again, all qualified contractors who could possibly bid on that work. I know I was up in the Sioux not too long ago, and they showed me a tender of a recent project, and basically at the bottom they said, only companies affiliated with, the Carpenter United Brotherhood of Carpenters and the Laborers International Union are allowed to bid that work. So, if you are, again, a qualified contractor in that community who could work on that project, you're simply not even eligible to put a bid in. That's not fair. That's not right. And so when my bill passes, that contractor up in the Sioux could bid that work.
So that example you used earlier of the $140 million of infrastructure projects in the region of Waterloo that have gone through, 27 companies had the opportunity to bid on it. Under current legislation, the way it's read, would only qualify for 2. What you're saying is all 27 would be eligible to bid on that.
Absolutely, and they're a mix. So again, all 27 could be then eligible to bid that work going forward under the rules. If the Labor Board rules against the region, that list would be whittled down to 2. So only those 2 could bid. But under my bill, if it passes, all 27, and those include union, non-union contractors who are qualified already and who have met the procurement policies of the area of the local municipality, would then be able to bid. And if successful, work on that project.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's fair.
What is the origin of the current legislation? How did we get here in the first place?
Well, it's a loophole currently in the Act that it's not clear, that the Act clearly doesn't state that municipalities and school boards should not be subject to the same rules that apply to a private construction company. And so my bill, Bill 73, pretty simple. It just says, hey, municipalities and school boards, they're not construction employers. Period.
So this is this happens sometimes at the Ontario Municipal Board appeals, where appointed folks get to interpret if they're silent on different things. I think that's what you're saying. If it's not explicitly put in legislation, you end up having, and this happens at the OMB. And when I was on city council, we'd have this all the time, saying, well, that's not the intent that was there. But you have someone who's appointed, not accountable to anyone because they're appointed by the province, who makes a decision on it, and the OLRB, and they do good work, but when in the absence of the specifics that you're talking about, they make a judgment call, and they've made one here that will impact everyone across the province.
Exactly. The Labor Board has to interpret the law that exists today. That's what they're doing. And when they go before the board says, well, were you doing construction work? Yes, we were using a hammer. Well, you're a construction employer. No. Municipalities are not construction companies. They're owners of of infrastructure.
Of road and yeah.
And so, again, my bill just simply adds clarity so that the board, when they go to make that decision, says, hey, municipalities and school boards, they're not construction employers. Those rules don't apply.
All right. Michael, thank you so much for your time today. And again, Thursday, just want to very briefly recap what you're going to be doing in the House, in the legislature.
Thursday, second reading debate. It's the crucial vote that will come to ensure that Bill 73, the Fair and Open Tendering Act, will go into committee. It could be consulted, changed, amended then, but it's a major hurdle on this Thursday, and really it comes down to fairness, to ensure that we give all qualified contractors the opportunity to work on taxpayer-funded infrastructure, that we give taxpayers the best value and allow local officials to, get the highest quality work for the best possible price, and sustainability to ensure that, infrastructure that we desperately so need here in the community, gets provided to those taxpayers that have paid for it.
All right, thank you. Michael Harris, Kitchener-Conestoga Tory MPP, his bill, Bill 73, the Fair and Open Tendering Act, will be revisited in the legislature on Thursday. You are listening to Business, powered by Save On Energy on 570 News.
We'll be right back with more Business to Business, powered by Save On Energy. Call in with your questions at star 570, 570-2545 or 1-800-570-5715. It's not just what you know, it's who you know. Connecting community through business. This is Business to Business on 570 News. Powered by Allstream. All local, all relevant. Allstream.com. Here's your host, Glenn Pelletier.
Welcome back to Business, powered by Save On Energy. I want to thank our producer, Candace Cobbing, and Catherine Drake, as we're being web streamed, as we always are, at 570news.com. Gentlemen, let's get right back to the Chamber of Business at hand. You guys have got busy weeks. Ian, this Thursday, you have a sold-out event.
Yeah, we're very pleased in partnership with the Waterloo Region Small Business Center. And Cambridge Chamber have been helping to promote this with us, inspiring women. And this is, I think, it's our first year coordinating this on behalf of the or in collaboration with the Small Business Center. But we'll have 600 business women hearing from 5 or 6 really tremendous speakers: Jeannie Becker, Linda Hasenfratz, Christine McGee, some real popular or well-known business folks and personalities, and there's still room. We still got a few tickets available, so check that out. One of the things I'm pleased that we're also working on, and we'll be having some discussions, Greg and I and our staff, along with some other community partners like the Center for Family Business and the Manufacturing Innovation Network, is starting to plan for our Manufacturing Summit 2014, where we're going to have some great breakout sessions, but really focus on manufacturing and have manufacturers in the room and say, we are here, this is still 20% of the local economy, and it's important to us. So really excited about that. Our Chamber Young Professionals starts this fall for the first time. So we're at Shoeless Joe's in Waterloo with a great patio, so hopefully we're keeping our fingers crossed for great weather. That's September 17th, which is Tuesday. And then next Monday is our Chamber annual meeting, and we're going to be at the brand new Balsley School Center for International Governance Innovation, 3:30 to 5:30. There'll be some business leaders and community leaders. So a very short business meeting. We try and keep it to like 15 minutes, but have lots of networking opportunity with senior folks. So we encourage all members to come. It's a free event for our members. So busy start to the year.
Good.
And Greg?
Well, Tuesday, this Tuesday coming, September the 17th, we're going to introduce Cambridge's newest leader, the new CAO, Chief Administrative Officer for the City of Cambridge, Gary Dyke. And he's about 12 days on the job, and now he's going to have to face the music.
Where was he before again?
He was in Quinte West. But he comes with it's really interesting because he's going to tie in very nicely with what we're talking about in the region. He comes with a very strong background in economic development. And so we're very eager to get to know him and to see what he's going to bring to the table. We also have a really interesting series going on for nonprofits and charitable organizations on leadership and running boards, and we call it actually essential skills for nonprofit organizations. Effective team building is the next segment on September the 26th, and you can certainly get into those to that series that's going to run all fall for nonprofits at our chamber office. The first one went off with effective board development last week, and we had a room full of people, both volunteers and staff of nonprofits and charities, and it's just a great program for them. So if they want, they can get more information on that on our website. And we have our golf tournament this Thursday, our fall golf tournament. CambridgeChamber.com, right? Yes, correct.
Now, Ian, have you got time to talk about the Stantec Consulting Network Breakfast? This networking breakfast, you got Paul Strauss of Home Hardware, October 3rd?
October 3rd. Stantec is, they've just rebranded, actually. So they're obviously a big Canadian company, but they've just got their rebranding done, and we're very pleased that they're our new main sponsor for our Network Breakfast Series. And Paul is a great guy, and the Home Hardware have been is a great partner to the business community right across the province and good partner of the chamber. So we asked him to come and lead off the Stantec Network Breakfast Series. So Paul will give and sort of share the 40 years of or 40 plus years of history of Home Hardware. So and next week we're gonna do a show. We're gonna do a little bit of talking about the resolutions, because we're going to be in 2 weeks' time. Both Greg and I are going to be calling in together from Kelowna, BC, where we'll be at the Canadian Chamber annual meeting.
Ian will be in the bathroom phone, and I will be in the...
I drew the short stick, so I get to be in the bathroom of our hotel room while we're doing that. But next week we should sort of set people up of what we're focusing on that are local issues that we're trying to take on a national level.
The Cambridge Chamber, the Canadian Chamber.
The Canadian Chamber of Commerce
annual meeting?
Annual general meeting, and that's a policy resolution. We get together and talk about things. So we'll do a warm-up next week for part of the show.
Beautiful Kelowna.
But Kelowna's a beautiful part, so unfortunately can't stay for more of a holiday, but it'll be
there won't be any window in the washroom for Ian to be gazing at. But.
Well, gentlemen, that does it for another edition of Business to Business, powered by Save On Energy. Thanks to Candace Cobbing and Catherine Drake for the great work that they do producing the program. Thanks to Ian McLean and Greg DeRocher of the respective chambers, the Greater KW and the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce. Blue Jays baseball is next, the rubber game against the Orioles. Thanks for listening. This is 570 News.